There are, of course, two issues before the Senate. The first is, should we affirm or should we not affirm Neil Gorsuch to be an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court? But there's an equally important second issue, and that is, should we get to vote at all? Now, the first issue is pretty straightforward. You either vote yes or no. And of course, this won't be a unanimous decision. Sometimes reasonable people disagree. Sometimes unreasonable people disagree. But we all have our personal beliefs, and as members of Congress, we're allowed to vote them, and we're all from different states, and this is a diverse union, and I think everybody understands that and appreciates that. But the second question, should we get to vote at all, is just as important, if not more important, than the first question. Now, everyone here has the right to filibuster, and our friends who happen to be Democrats have the right to filibuster and prevent us from taking a vote. It will be a first. There has never been a Supreme Court nominee by either a Democratic president or a Republican president who has been filibustered to death for partisan reasons in the history of the United States Senate or in the history of the United States.
Welcome back to the Hot News Today. Today we dive into Senator John Kennedy's unfiltered remarks during Judge Neil Gorsuch's confirmation hearings. This is straight talk about the Constitution, the Supreme Court, and what it means to be a judge. Grab a seat. Kennedy brought Southern charm and courtroom fire. Let me break it down. There were two big issues that day. First, should Judge Gorsuch be confirmed to the Supreme Court? Second, should the Senate even be allowed to vote? Senator Kennedy said this wasn't just about Gorsuch. If we filibuster nominees for politics, we're turning justice into a Tarantino movie. So what about the man at the center of all this? Judge Gorsuch was accused of having an agenda, of being a political tool in a robe. But Kennedy wasn't buying it. He said,
Judge Gorsuch has been accused of having an agenda. Look, I'm not buying it. I didn't read all 2,700 opinions, but I read about 20, and I looked for an agenda because I don't want a politician on the United States Supreme Court. I don't want somebody blinded by ideology. I want a judge. I read at least 20 of his opinions, and I'll tell you what I saw. I saw the same thing over and over and over again. I'm going to read you two sentences from A.M. v. Holmes, where, by the way, he voted against a police officer, not for, he voted against a police officer who arrested a 13-year-old seventh grader for fake burping in class. Judge Gorsuch said, I don't think you need to arrest him. Maybe discipline him, but don't arrest him. The majority said, oh, it's okay, he can be arrested and the police officer has qualified immunity. Judge Gorsuch said that's a bridge too far. And in dissenting, this is what he said. And you see this language time and time and time again. Quote, often the law can be an ass, an idiot. He's quoting Charles Dickens. And there is little we judges can do about it. For it is or should be emphatically our job to apply, not rewrite, the law enacted by the people's representatives.
Then came the fire. Kennedy made a promise. If any nominee says they'll rule based on wealth, power, or status, I will vote against them.
Point 3. Some have criticized Judge Gorsuch for voting for the big guy or the big gal, whatever that is. Here's a commitment, Mr. Chairman, I'll make to you and to God and country. As long as I'm on the Judiciary Committee, if this president or any president ever nominates someone to serve in the federal judiciary who says that he or she will be influenced by the wealth or the power or the status of the parties, I will vote against them. And you can take that home to mama every single time. Because the wealth and the status and the power of the parties should have absolutely nothing to do with who wins a case.
Critics slammed Gorsuch for not taking a stand on abortion or gun control, but Kennedy shut that down.
Judge Gorsuch has been criticized for not telling us what his position is on abortion. And he's been criticized for not telling us what his position is on gun control. And he's been criticized for not telling us what his position is on the 8th Amendment or the 10th Amendment or the 9th Amendment. And he's guilty. He can't. He would violate his oath of office. He would violate the oath of office he took to be on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and he'd violate his oath of office that he's going to take when he becomes an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Look. Here it is, Canon 3A6 of the Code of Conduct for United States Judges. It says, quote, a judge shall not make public comment on the merits of a matter pending or impending in any court. Here it is, Rule 210B of the American Bar Association Model Code of Judicial Conduct. Quote, a judge shall not, in connection with cases, controversies, or issues that are likely to come before the court, make pledges, promises, or commitments that are inconsistent with the impartial performance of the adjudicative duties of the judicial office. Criticize him for what you want, but don't criticize him for what he can't do.
Kennedy looked around and said,
But this man is a thoroughbred. He's a legal rock star, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to vote for him enthusiastically.
what does this mean for the future of our courts and our country? Kennedy's message. We can disagree without destroying the system and uphold the law without rewriting it. Stand for what's right, even when it's not popular. Subscribe, like, and share if you're ready for the truth. Stay informed, stay sharp, and stay free.